Last year at Computex 2023, I stumbled on an early sample of Coolermaster's NCore 100 Max, which was a Mini-iTX tower that included a cooler, a power supply, as well as a PCIe 4 riser cable. And today we're finally able to build in this tower, check it out for you guys, and see if it is a good case, not just for ITX enthusiasts, but also for people wanting to build, say, their first computer and they want to go with a Mini-iTX solution. And what you may notice already with me talking about this case is that we have mounted the biggest GPU I have come into in terms of retail cards on the RTX series. This is the RTX 4080 Zotac Gaming. The 4090 will also be the same size. And this thing is almost 357 millimeters in length. And so this is the max size that the NCore 100 can accommodate for GPUs in terms of length. Now it can also accommodate 3.9 slots in thickness. So this one here is a 3-slot cooler, but initially out of the box, it wouldn't fit this GPU. I tried some other GPUs around here and they all fit fine. However, I did have to use the extension option on this case. I had to drop the bottom PCIe 4 riser as well as the bracket down the bottom to extend the length. Now you can also extend the width of the GPU if you need to. From the get-go, it'll fit up to 3 slots, but you can extend it to 3.9 slots. And there's also the top mount vent included if you wish to do this. In this case, our Zotac GPU, it's only 3 slots, and so we managed to fit it in flush, and that makes this size of this whole case come in at about 15.7 liters, according to Coolermaster's site. If you wish to extend it outwards, it will raise it over 17 liters in size. Though installing the GPU is only one part of building an ITX build, we've got many more components and parts to think of, and turning this build around, we can see we've got the motherboard mounted. That went in extremely easy. We've got the custom cables, which are very short in length to match the build perfectly, so you won't be left with any excess cables in your ITX build. You've also got your USB 3 as well as Type-C front out connectors, the front panel which is merged into one connector, very convenient, and your HD audio connector too. So mounting the motherboard was extremely easy to do, but you'll notice on top of this motherboard, there is already a cooler mounted. So with the NCore 100 Max, you do get the 850 watt Gold Rated power supply included, and you do get a 120 mil, which is double the thickness of a normal 120 mil radiator, included pre-mounted at the top. All you have to do is unscrew the mounting kit for your respective build, whether you're going with AMD or Intel, and then put some thermal paste on and you are good to go, which the mounting so far was straightforward, very easy to do. And now that we've put this PC back together, you'll notice that I didn't have to use any screws, and that's because these two panels as well as the top is all modular and it's all got ventilation. Though let's put those temperatures in this ITX case to the test on both the water cooler and the GPU, and then also take the panels off as well and see the temperatures there, just to see if the NCore 100 Max will do a maximum job for you. So now we're fast forwarding actually over a week later. I've changed shirts, I've had a haircut, and I've spent some time with this case because I really wanted to get my thoughts and opinions done proper for this review. And I'm actually going to start off with the negative first because there's actually not a whole lot on the negative here. The first would be the adapter inside, the PCIe Gen 5 adapter that's included. This fits the RTX 4000 series graphics cards. That sits out at an ever so slight angle. It's a 90-degree connector, but when it's connected now, I've connected it to 2 different RTX 4080s, and both times it's been slightly off center. And if you're connecting a 4090 in this PC, I would be aware of that because you do want, especially in the case of using an RTX 4090, you would want that to fit flush and have no problems whatsoever. But on a 4080, 4070 and stuff, I haven't heard of connectors burning up on those particular models. So should be okay, but for any future reiteration, I'd like to actually see, instead of a 90-degree connector here, I'd actually like to see a 45-degree adapter included instead. I think that would fit perfectly flush, and you'd have a bit of wiggle room there and it'd be able to move, and a bit of flexibility for that GPU and its connector. Though the second thing here is just the sheer size of this case. It is a Mini-iTX case, but it's just really big. Even if you use the out-of-the-box settings with a little over 15 liters, it's still a tall case. And in this case, we have extended it down the bottom, and then we have pushed it out a little bit. And in the case of extending it down lower, it doesn't add any volume to the case, but pushing it out does add a bit more volume and makes it over 17 liters. And right here, I've put on the desk a mid-tower sized ATX case, just to show you that it actually comes in taller than this mid-tower sized ATX case. But then of course, it's much smaller in its length because the GPU is going up vertically. However, the Mini-iTX case that I use personally is of course under 10 liters. I think it's actually under 9 liters. It's really small, and that's sort of for me where Mini-iTX, where I want to be at. I want to be at an extremely small case, something that I can cart around with me, has a handle on it. So that would be the critique here, is that the case is pretty big and it doesn't have a handle on it either, where you can easily lug it around. Though, those things aside, it's time to get into the really good points with this case. The first being the temperatures here, which we did a test on, and that was where we saw the difference on the GPU being about 1 degree, but keep in mind the fan speeds did actually go on auto speeds up a little bit, and the hotspot temperatures on both the GPU and the memory junction point were a little bit higher too, with side panel on versus side panel off. But overall, they've done a pretty good job of allowing the GPU, in this case a RTX 4080, to breathe quite well. And then we go to the CPU cooler. We did use an i7-14700KF here. Of course, if you're using an i9, it probably will be barely just enough. But in the case of the i7-14700KF, it did pretty well. The temperatures were pretty good on this cooler. So for a Mini-iTX case, the ability to cool this, both the CPU and then allow the GPU to breathe properly, is very good. There's no complaints there. Then the last thing to talk about with this case is the build quality and of course, dare I say it, the value for money. This case comes in currently, if you're in Australia, at $599. You can get it in the bronze or the silver. I personally like the silver. I'm gonna sort of make a mini critique here. I haven't had anyone ask me for a bronze case ever since I started building PCs. So like, I'd rather like to see that gold instead of bronze. Bronze, I'm not too sure there. Do let us know in the comments what you think of bronze being on a case. I personally just have no desire to get a bronze case. But in this case, we've got the gunmetal gray, and it looks really nice. It is a nice color. I would opt for this color. But back to the value, $599 in Australia. That price, you get the PCIe 4 riser, which is quite expensive on its own. It'd be at least 80 Aussie dollars. You've then got the power supply, which is the best part. That's a SFX 850 watt gold. And that is, at least if you were to buy it on its own, it'd be over 200 Aussie dollars. And then you've got the water cooler, and then you've got, of course, the case itself. So all up for $599, it's actually a decent deal, considering how easy it was to build in the case to begin with, and all the features on board, everything works fine. Then in the US, it's 381 USD right now. So that's another good thing, is that the pricing in Australia isn't exorbitant compared to the US pricing. So if you're looking at the US pricing going, oh, like in the case of say the RTX 4070 Super, which is $599, and then in Australia got released at over 1,100 Australian dollars, you can look at this price and go, hey, I'm at least getting a pretty good deal compared to the guys in the US. It's pretty much near parity in terms of the currencies. So that's another good thing. So the value's there, the build quality's there, and ultimately I just had no problems building in this case. Everything was straightforward, from extending the GPU bracket downwards, also to extending the GPU outwards, since this was a massive RTX 4080 that we used in this particular case. But keep in mind, if you are mounting the GPU and you have to extend it longer than that original, I think it's 33 centimeters, you may wish to get a right angle adapter for your monitor cable, because mine was just barely fitting and it was starting to sort of pull the adapter cable in an uncomfortable manner where it might break. But overall, very impressed with the NCore 100 Max. I think the build quality's there, the value's there, and they've done everything right. And so from my perspective of this case, it's just a bit too big for a Mini-iTX case. And so everything checks out, except I would like to see Coolermaster perhaps make the option to, they allow you to extend it upwards. I'd like to see them have the option to extend it downwards and perhaps add a handle to carry around this case with. I think that would actually be a big winner if they could do steps to make it smaller, make it more portable. Because for me personally, Mini-iTX goes hand in hand with portability. So for me, that's what I want from Mini-iTX, though in terms of the case itself, everything checks out. Really good build quality. Kudos to Coolermaster for this one. Though of course, you guys do let us know in the comment section below what you think of this case. Have you got it personally? Do let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Love reading them as always. And with that aside, I am going to check myself out of here, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.